Then friends started to die. I had my first couple friends that I had used with start to pass away from drugs. People were getting arrested from, trying to get money from stealing and all that. Other people were disappearing because their parents were putting them into rehab. Thinking about that confident kid in college that had everything that one could want, I pretty much just gave it to the dope man. I said, here, take my life. Take my friends, take my family, take my money. I found something that filled my emptiness that I was missing, with this drug. And so to me, it didn't seem like it was bad, because it was making me feel better. I was running out of money. I was not spending time with my friends. I was bordering these two lives, and I just started to become a different person. I wasn't Matt. Matt was gone. It didn't really hit me until months later. I was doing this for months, maybe even a year at this point. And I get a phone call. My parents are coming down, and they show up to my apartment. And at this point, my apartment was so barren and so dark. I had pawned and sold everything that I really owned. They came in. I remember their faces were just kind of like, what is going on here? You're like living in a shack. And I didn't notice it. I didn't think it looked that bad. I didn't think I looked that bad, which is the weird thing. I thought I looked great, and they sat me down and they pulled out sheets of tinfoil. And I guess my girlfriend at the time had found some in the trash and tried to get me some help by going to my parents. And I think that was my first real bottom, is I'm like, holy shit, my parents know. And out of my mouth, I have to say, yeah, I'm doing drugs. And that's a hard thing to say. Hard thing for a person to come out and openly say, hey, I'm doing drugs. I'm a drug addict. I need help. So I decided to take my parents' help and support and try and get clean. And I just bunkered down at their house and went through the withdrawals, which hurt and sucked. And I told myself I'd never go through this pain and misery again. And this is so weird. I could look at myself in the mirror and tell myself, I could stop. But I don't want to, but I could. Couldn't even be honest with myself that I had a problem. It just seemed like it was a point in time, that I was kind of living a little bit of a darker life. Next thing you know, I'm going back out. And it was 100 times worse. Every time I went back out, it was like, I didn't start at the beginning again. I started right where I left off, and I went even harder. And now I have no money. I have no job. Parents aren't giving me money because they know what I'm doing with it. People know when I reach out to them that I'm probably going to spend money on drugs. So I had to resort to hanging with some bad people and stealing and coming up with schemes and lying and using people and manipulating and just to use and it's like, for what? Right? To lock myself in a bathroom and pick all the hair out of my face, to walk around downtown and pick up cigarette butts out of ashtrays and on the ground and light them up and smoke them. Like, that's where I was at. That was the fun I was doing with my high time. Then friends started to die. I had my first couple friends that I had used with start to pass away from drugs. People were getting arrested from, trying to get money from stealing and all that. Other people were disappearing because their parents were putting them into rehab and all that. So I started to see real life consequences of what these drugs are doing. But for me, it was kind of like, I'm not getting arrested. I'm not I'm not dying, you know. I know how to use these drugs. I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna overdose. It just got to the point where I was, you know, I had no home. Really, I didn't want to be anywhere. I didn't even want to be around the people that I got the drugs with. It was very lonely and sad, and I couldn't stop. And at this point, I was kind of out of options.
You must work hard to strengthen your body. Be proud of yourself and the uniform you wear. Above all else, never quit or give up.
I know what to do. I know what to do. Because addicts, I want things done now. I want things done now. And I want to get clean now. I know I can do it. I had this desperation, this gift of desperation. I need to make the change. So I said, hey, I'm going to join the United States Marine Corps. And they'll set me straight, you know. They won't let me use drugs. I'll be that Matt that I used to be. The only problem was I was using, right? And I was trying very hard and working with people and taking support no matter. And here's the thing, so many people were supporting me to get clean and sober. And I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't follow through with the actions. It was me. I wouldn't do it. But I thought, hey, I'll be a Marine and it would just be easier that way because I'll be moving away. I'll be confined in an area and I will solve the problem. Right before that, I got arrested and I thought, this is it. I can't get into the Marines. I just got arrested, and it turns out that on the condition that I went into boot camp that I was able to get a lot of my charges dropped. So I go into boot camp and I'm withdrawing. You know, I'm like 130 pounds, small, and it was a tough time, mentally and physically, because I'm thinking I'm gonna fail the piss test. I'm thinking I'm gonna get caught. It's not a good way to live, you know, thinking and always looking over your shoulder. So I get through boot camp, become a Marine, and I won't get too much into the military history here, but I never worked on my issues. I never worked on my problems. I never actually did anything about it. I just ran, and you know, it caught up to me. Close to the end of my enlistment, I got arrested for a pistol and drugs, and they sent me to the brig. I was there for a couple months, but that's where my drinking and using takes me, you know, and it was just a real horrible experience being in there. I asked for help. I asked the military for help, and then they put me to a treatment center, like a 30-day treatment center, where I learned about AA and sober livings and talking about your feelings and problems and being in a room with a bunch of other people. And to be honest, I was like, you know, I've seen stuff about alcoholism and stuff like that, but it was on South Park, so it's got to be a joke, you know, who actually does that stuff? But being there at the treatment center, I started to feel alive again. You know, I got the drugs out of my system, and I started to connect with people, and have a bond with that side of my life, which was really weird, talking about all the bad decisions we made. But at the same time, we were getting through those together. And it was like I had a team again. I had a purpose, you know, and I've done some really shameful things, at least personal shameful things for me. But one of them that was so bad is right before I got out of the Marines, I started using again. I was away from my support group, and I wasn't contacting people. I wasn't doing any action, so I started drinking and sneaking off base and using. And when I got out, well, I heard about sober livings. Maybe I'll give that a try. So I had to lie to get into sober living. My whole life at this point has just been a whole bunch of lies. You know, who is Matt? Who is he? What is he like? I don't know at this point. I don't know who I am. So sober living is a straight trip. You know, I tried to get the sober thing a try. I went to meetings, I went to church, and but I was missing something, and I knew it. I knew I was missing something, and what I was missing was a real life. You know, this sober living AA meetings type deal is not real life to me at this point. I'm missing out on so much. I'm missing out on friends, experiences, parties. But I could still do those things, I thought, sober. So I gave it a try, early sobriety. I went to a party with some people from work, and sober living has guidelines. You know, you can't drink and you get tested and you have curfew. Well, I blew all those things away. I said, I'm gonna go to this party, I'm not gonna drink. The people at the party know that I don't drink, and it'll be cool. But I get to hang out and be like a normal person again. So I get there, and I ended up being the last person awake at this party. Everyone else went to bed, they have work the next day. And there I was alone at this party, someone's house I don't really know, and I started drinking and smoking. They found me on the floor throwing up, and they had to call me an Uber. Uber driver had to, they had to walk me down the stairs. Like I said, every time I went back, it was so much worse. I'm getting brought down into an Uber because I'm shit-faced drunk, throwing up, can't walk. I get back, get out of the car, and from what I was told, I tried to break into the house next door to the sober living because I thought it was the right house. It was the wrong house, so I'm crawling on the ground because I'm so dizzy. I knock on the door. The manager opens it up. He says, "Get the fuck off my porch. You're done, you're out of here. Your stuff will be on the lawn." So I went and I slept under a slide in a playground. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. What am I gonna do? I fucked up again. I need help. And I was so lucky that I was able to get back they let me back in. I don't know why, but they did. And 60 days later, there I am, using again. And this point, one of the people that I used with overdosed, and the cops came, and they said that I sold them drugs. And so the cops came to the sober living and they kicked me out. And luckily I didn't get charges, but I ended up with no place to live again. But luckily, I was able to get a handout. Someone offered me a room, and it was a room in a house where no one spoke English. And that's when it got really bad. I was completely away from the support that I had in AA. Even though I wasn't trying that hard, there was still some really good people there. It just was me. I was not making it worthwhile. I was still so worried about missing out on normal life that I couldn't accept that this is where I am now. This is what I have to do to get better. So I'm in Huntington Beach, off Ball Street, and I'm just up all night selling everything I can to homeless people to try and get hits. It was so bad. It was so bad at this point. I had lost so much weight. People were commenting on it. I don't know. It was so bad at this point. I was really sad and depressed and just defeated and beat. And I actually had medicine, like Suboxones, to get through withdrawals and quit, but I couldn't do it. And I was still getting messages from this men's group chat, and they were all meeting up at church. These are all drug addicts, alcoholics that go to church together. And I decided, hey, I'm going to go. And I was out of my mind. And I show up, and they all knew it. And this guy who had been my sponsor, actually, he fired me because I was just such an asshole and not following the programs. He fired me. He came back again, and he said, Matt, I'm going to get you help. Let's get you back to the sober living. This is the third time. We're going to get you help. Just come with me after the meeting and we'll go. And you'll get better. And I remember so many excuses went through my mind. Oh, I got to make this person's birthday. Oh, my job is, I can't go to sober living because I got work, or my parents, or I got to let people know. It was so many things that I thought were valid reasons to not get healthy, to not get sober. So I show up and I walk in, and it kind of was so quick. Matt, you give me your keys, your phone, and you're staying here and not leaving for 30 days. And I was like, I got to make a decision now. I can't, there's so many things. But they were like, no, you need to decide, do you want to get better and save your life? Or do you want to go out there, live on the streets, and go to jail or die? What do you want to do? It's interesting when you're put in that position to make a very purposeful, intense life choice. It just feels like everything's happening so fast. And I think that's why I ran. I was very nervous of, this is it. I have to give up my life. You know, I have to make that decision right now of giving up these drugs and giving up my freedom and going down that road. And so I left. I ran out. I got in my car and I drove away. And I don't know what was going through my mind, but I just didn't know what to do. And I got a text message that said, you have 5 minutes to decide. If you don't come back here, don't come back here ever again. And, you know, those excuses run through your mind, and it's just like, fuck, man. Okay. You know what? When I read his message, it just felt different. It felt like I'm gonna pass up on the last chance that I have for a life. So I went back to the house. And it was different. You know, I was willingly, more willing than I've ever been. I handed my keys, I handed my phone, and I said, let's do this. And I accepted their support. And I think that's the big difference, is I was accepting to the help and the change, and then I also wanted it. And those withdrawals are fucking horrible. And I finally broke down and I asked for my medicine. Hey, can you give me some medicine to help me with this? And the sober living manager looked at me and he said, I threw them away because I want you to remember how bad this feels, how much it hurts. I want you to really go through it so you remember to never come back to this place again. You never do it again. So I've been sober ever since that day.